morning, everyone. We're just really delighted to be here today, so thank you for attending. I will show my slides very quickly so that we've got a medium for you to follow. And we will get started. Chris, are we ready to get started?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay, fantastic. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I guess we're crossing the hour. Good evening for some from the UK. So, and bonjour. So we're very excited for the opportunity today to talk to you about our inaugural Edison Accelerator program, which we're bringing to the Canadian ecosystem to continue to innovate together, including, ecosystem of startups, providers, government, and GE. So the purpose of this webinar is really to introduce you to the program, which you might have read about, but also more importantly, to give you the opportunity to ask your questions, for us to answer those questions and really start a dialogue. So you will have a few people on this call today. I'm joined by Nick Phillips, who is representing NextCube, our partner. So NextCube is a Silicon Valley-based digital health venture that works on accelerating innovation in digital health globally. NextCube is known for having partnered with the government of Canada on the SoCal Digital Health Highway program and worked with 6 startups to accelerate their penetration into the North American landscape, more particularly in the US. So Nick will talk to you a little bit later about Israel in this project. Dan Zikowicz is also here, my partner in crime, I would call him, principal solutions architect, technical lead for the program, joining me from GE Healthcare Canada. And then we also have the pleasure, and thank you to our advisory board member who are volunteering their time from the UK and in California to join us today, Leslie Smart, who plays a key role as a lead in the European, or EMEA, Middle East and Africa Accelerator program. She will be able to share her experience with the program in Europe last year and how they're starting this year. And then Lino Ramirez, a fellow Canadian exiled in California, a global product manager, but also spent a lot of time on the Edison platform and has been involved in the India Accelerator program and the European Accelerator program. So 2 people that will be here to help us answer your question on what experience you might expect from working with GE on such a program. And people that are not here today, but I want you to know are behind and supporting us. Jessica Awea is our project manager, so she is keeping us all in check to deliver this program successfully. And we've got a 6-people advisory board representing both internal and external stakeholders that are guiding us strategically through this program to ensure that we deliver something that's meaningful to you as a startup, meaningful to providers as far as the innovation we bring to the system, and then can accelerate that innovation, sustain your businesses so that you can grow faster and commercialize across the world. So let's get started. Who is GE Healthcare? Some of you, if you're in the field of health, know us. Some might not know us as well, but if you are in medical imaging, the chances that you will. We are a $18 billion revenue business with presence in 160 countries around the world and 48,000 employees. We serve about 1 billion patients per year with about 2 billion procedures performed on 4 million pieces of equipment that are installed across the world. We continuously innovate and invest in innovation through research and development investment in billions of dollars per year. And you can see from the number of digital apps that we have developed and have available on the marketplace from either ourselves or our partners that we are committed to continuing innovation in digital health. So GE comes to the table with some strengths, right? We have a large installed base, as you could see. We are a technology leader in digital and artificial intelligence applied to medical imaging And we've got the strength of an ecosystem that we collaborate with, right? Partners around the world, and really a best-in-class service team that not only allows us to commercialize and sell solutions to the customer, but also ensure that the customers use them and benefit from the adoption of those solutions as they use them. The major area we focus on are cardiology, oncology, neurology, women's health, and musculoskeletal. Those are the areas where we plan to innovate in the coming year. If you look at the business we work in, so we are very much in imaging, so your traditional MRI, CT, X-ray, women's health, and image-guided surgery. A large branch in ultrasound across women's health, cardiology, and general radiology, but also point of care and primary care. And also life care solution, which is patient monitoring and acute care monitoring, serving anesthesia, diagnostic cardiology, maternal infant care, and surgery. We also have a set of digital solutions, particularly PACS in radiology or cardiology vascular IT system or vendor neutral archives that help bring digital solutions to point of care to make processes more efficient with digitization. And last but not least, we've got a pharmaceutical diagnostic division that really provides contrast media and molecular imaging agents to be used in those procedures to accelerate or facilitate diagnosis. So we also work, and actually I'll go back, and one thing I forgot, what's important is there are some a platform that we use in the development of our latest technology stack. And Dan will talk about it more later, but it's the Edison Digital Health Platform. And with the Edison Digital Health Platform, we are developing us internally artificial intelligence, and we also have tools within the platform that allow us to better orchestrate AI at point of care. And why is it important, you're going to say, right? What you want is that, yes, AI can be developed for improving care, but what is very important is that that AI is adopted within the processes and within the workflow. What we hear from customers and across the world is in general that they want to implement AI, but they don't want it to disrupt their processes. They don't want additional clicks. So the challenge is, how do we bring AI to point of care effectively by integrating it into the workflow so that it is not a manual and disjointed process for our provider, but instead that they can purchase AI, try AI, adopt AI through a single trusted and known partner that might be able to bring to them, a bigger ecosystem behind it. And just to kind of take you through this, why this is important is that with AI Orchestrator on the Edison platform, what GE can help in collaboration with partner is really look at the data that's coming in, right? Look at what algorithm would be beneficial to apply to that data, link to the right solution, extract AI findings, and then bring those AI findings back to point of care. So let's go into the Edison Accelerator program. Why this program? Well, because of what I just talked earlier, you are maybe on this call because you're developing AI applied to medical imaging. You want to integrate that AI into the provider's workflow so that those providers adopt and purchase your AI. At GE, what we know is that we are building AI, but we can be slow. We have big company, we've got a lot of bureaucracy to go through to release product. And you as startup, you're fast, you're nimble, you can develop and ideate and iterate and develop technology that's meaningful for providers. But how do we potentially help you bring this to market faster and commercialize faster? Medical hardware can be proprietary, and the regulatory instruments requirements that are surrounding are challenging to navigate, making it complex for the development process. And last but not least, market penetration and product adoption is difficult because of what I just talked earlier, where a physician or provider would like to see those disparate application integrated at point of care within their workflow without additional clicks. So this program aims at streamlining the development of the development process, speeding up the number of steps that would lead to market for your solution, and potentially maximize the ease of deployment to drive that adoption, which would drive that commercialization of your solution. The Edison Accelerator program started in India in 2019. So India is currently on their 4th cohort. In parallel with that, there was an accelerator also created in China. And last year, the European team launched their accelerator program in partnership with providers. And they are on their 2nd cohort this year in 2022. We also have an independent software vendors program that's a global program, but really led by the global team from the US, which really helped to bring market-ready applications and add additional channels for those companies to sell their product in collaboration with GE. And last but not least, this year, we are very excited to launch in Canada our first inaugural Edison Accelerator program. There is also one being launched in Turkey at the same time. So we believe in the power of that ecosystem. We know that there are thousands of innovators across Canada developing solution innovations that have or that have disruptive ideas to solve healthcare's biggest challenges. And in launching this program, what we're looking for is to work with 6 of you that have, commercial ready solutions that address some of those key Canadian healthcare needs that would align, of course, with what we do at GE so that we can have a meaningful engagement together, some alignment, and a meaningful partnership. The goal is to boost the adoption of AI in imaging with leveraging that Edison AI orchestrator I talked about earlier to accelerate your go-to market. That could strengthen your value proposition and accelerate that market adoption with integrated workflow and meaningful outcomes for the providers. So help you reach an installed base that then can effectively implement your solution and achieve meaningful outcomes with. Ultimately, what we want to find is those 2 or 3 startups that then, or scale-ups that are ready to work with us, commercialize their product on potentially Edison Marketplace, which is our version of the App Store, and Dan will talk about that a little later. So we're currently recruiting for the program, and Nick will shortly talk about what we're looking for in each of the startups that we want to onboard into the program. We will be closing applications by the end of May. The program will start in July to culminate with an innovation showcase in November, time at which then we will identify those 2 or 3 startups that we want to continue to collaborate with. So Nick, if I can pass it on to you, maybe to talk a bit more about NextCube, your role in the program, and how you're going into selecting those startups.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully everyone can hear me all right. So this slide shows what we're looking for in the teams or the startups and scale-ups that we're going to be working with. And it also highlights the key dates. So bear with me while I get through some of this stuff. I think one of the things that's the first and foremost is that we're looking for a diverse and distinguished team with prior experience in the medical imaging technology space. I think that's highly relevant for GE. They want to know that they're working with somebody that can build what they're saying that they're going to build and potentially have done it before in the past. Obviously, with this program, the Edison Orchestrator platform, we're looking for solutions and technologies that are leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning to improve medical imaging, but also to Laura's earlier point, that trickles down into reducing costs and improving outcomes within the hospitals and the provider organizations there as well. So folks that are in and around healthcare know exactly what I'm talking about there. Also, we're looking specifically within cardiology, oncology, neurology, women's health, musculoskeletal, and or pediatrics. So looking at solutions and technologies that are actively in that space, and kind of skipping down to the bottom, but not only are active in the space, but they're also going through the regulatory and requirement process and are in the near term either already approved or going to be approved very soon. This kind of goes into the technology readiness level. This may be unfamiliar for some of the folks on the US side of things, but if you're looking for it here, the readiness level is down in the right corner. So we're looking for mature companies with technologies that are commercially available and or commercially scalable. As I mentioned, with regulatory and approval process either ongoing or it's already been completed in the US, Canada, or other relevant regions. And then also we get this question a lot, do I need to be from Canada? That's not necessarily the case. You can be from Canada, or you can be working on commercializing your technology in the Canadian or North American regions more broadly. So that's what we're looking for in the program. You can go to our website down there. I know it's probably hard, but if you screen grab it, next3.com/GE Healthcare Edison Accelerator, that will have more information about what we're looking for, links to all the important stuff there as well. Some key dates that are important. I think Lord highlighted these previously, but we'll be a little bit more specific here. What we're looking for is the application deadline is May 27th. I believe that is the last Friday of the month. And we're looking at the end of the day, so midnight. Very, very late at the end of the day. We're looking to select those 6 startups by June 17th. And again, to begin the program on July 15th. And some folks that are on this webinar maybe have already spoken with me before. Through the process and the vetting process, there's a series of phone calls, one with myself, another with a potential GE and or NextCube representative, kind of more of I would say a beefed up conversation, not a completely formal pitch, but more diving into the specifics of the technology just to get to know each other a little bit more. And then we'll have on that week of June 17th, we'll have our final evaluation committee meetings and having our more formal pitches there. So feel free to reach out, ask me any questions if you have anything, but I think we can go to the next slide now. And with this one, we'll turn it over to Dan to talk a little bit more about, excuse me, the slides changed a little bit from last time.
Yeah, Nick, if you can talk about mentorship first, then it'll flow better. Yeah.
No problem, no problem. So kind of backing it up a little bit. So the mentor and coaching, and specifically with how NextCube is going to be in this program. NextCube, as Laura mentioned, runs accelerator programs. It's kind of what we do best. And so we're bringing our institutional knowledge and our best practices to this program. And what that means for you as the startup or scale up is really working with NextCube to help find the resources within GE to help prepare your commercial or your technology for commercialization on the Edison Accelerator platform. That'll also be a collaborative experience with NextCube there as well. And also working to provide some feedback to come up with value propositions that are going to make sense for the GE customers that are going to be utilizing the technologies coming off the Edison Accelerator platform. You might be coming with your own hypotheses and your own ideas, but GE also has the institutional knowledge that may not be readily available for you. So this is a collaborative experience there as well. And last but not least, getting prepared for the demo day in November. Hopefully it's in person, fingers crossed, but that's what we're looking forward to. And NextCube is going to help you along the way, translate all the great activities that you're going to be doing through this program, whittle it down into a demo day pitch that's going to resonate with the audience, and make sure it looks great, help with some graphics and all that kind of fun stuff, and make sure you're putting your best foot forward on that demo day. And NextCube is going to help along that process. And we do that with all of our other programs and startups that we've worked with in the past as well. So now I think I can pass it over to Dan.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to talk a little bit about the innovation system. So, and why you'd want to partner with GE. And some of the key benefits are that, one of the key benefits is that we're vendor agnostic, meaning that we can connect to multiple systems that are non-GE. Our solutions work pulling images from GE and non-GE equipment. So really it's a connect once with multiple systems to get access to the data that's required, and it's a single point of connectivity that you need to do to get that vendor neutrality that I just talked about. This gives a very large exposure to connect once and sell many. And it makes it a little easier to maintain and develop the next set of algorithms without having to go back to multiple systems. I think Laura talked earlier about this allows you to scale much more quickly. We do have an install base globally. What we look to do is focus on Canada as a first region, and then integrate into other regions as we see fit. But we've already got the infrastructure in many different regions, and we can cross-pollinate with some of the other programs in Europe and India and China that we've worked on. We also have tools and APIs that make it very easy to connect to our orchestrator platform. This makes it much quicker, easier, and gives us a more tight integration with the workflow. There are other marketplaces that exist. A lot of those are just reseller type marketplaces where they resell an app. The app isn't necessarily tightly integrated into the workflow, and this is a huge benefit for a lot of the clinicians and people that will be using your application. Is they don't want to have to shell out and go into multiple windows to use applications many times. And in fact, there's some research that shows that actually slows them down instead of actually speeds them up, is what we're trying to do. We do have machine learning tools that help in terms of development and orchestration, and we do have like a holistic ecosystem that we have that you can connect into as well. So one of the other pieces that's really important for this program is being able to validate that the solution works. And I think that, many of the startups, they may have done some integration with other companies in the past or experienced that. And I think a lot of the feedback that we're hearing is that in some cases, that can be a very tricky situation. And, there's a lot of effort spent to go in and integrate in the hopes to commercialize that technology. And it turns out to be a very heavy lift. What we're going to do as part of this program is we've got a sandbox environment, sort of a test development environment that we can actually test the technologies. We do have some people that can, help on board and help your team get that your solution into the sandbox and make sure it's working. But I think it should be a fairly rapid process, and allows you to iterate to go into that platform and iterate. And that kind of works both ways, where it allows you to see that your technology works with GE, and it allows GE to see that our technology works with your technology. I think that's one of the key things for success and being able to rapidly commercialize AI at scale. And lastly, so one of the key things that I'm going to talk a little bit more about is access to the global Edison marketplace. And that's coupled with, we do have a global sales channel. So, providing your technology as part of this program, you're going to be exposed to a lot of the senior level people at GE and the product people that, sell many of the products that we have today. And we've got a very strong install base that, that we can lean back on. Not only that, is NextCube has a fantastic investor network that can be supportive of your team, and there may be opportunities for investment depending on the technology. And then post pitch and the innovation day, the selected finalist, we're hoping to commercialize with our we have a commercial team that can help you get your application into marketplace. And then, there could be people that are or startups that are runner-ups that we can then start to work with to, what are the missing components, or how do we, work towards getting you into marketplace maybe next year or the following year, depending on the type of technology and what's required. So I touched on this notion of a marketplace, which is kind of like the Apple Store, the Apple Store, or Google Play for Android. We've got over 300 applications in our App Store right now. We work with a wide range of third-party startups to integrate into things like our Edison AI Orchestrator. one of the key differentiators is that the deployment of this could be on third-party PAC systems, aligning with that vendor neutral strategy that I talked about from GE, provides a connect once, but the ability to sell to many and across the globe. Within the marketplace, each of the apps, there's the opportunity to get information, brochures, data sheets, flyers, and then request more information. Maybe that can provide access to a demo and some of the sales channel in order to answer questions or move this forward. So we found this to be a very effective tool in some of the other parts of our business, as well as some of the digital apps have been, this is a great sales channel for them. And this is a global marketplace that allows the customers to kind of interact. And I talked about a wide range. Here's a quick snapshot of some of the applications that we've integrated into our orchestration platform. And we're hoping to see what we're looking for from the Canadian Accelerator is to reach out to the Canadian ecosystem. We think there's cutting edge technology, and we'd be really pleased to get the next set of applications from Canadian startups.
Thank you, Dan. If I'm not mistaken, Leslie, right, from the program that you finished last year in Europe, out of the 6 startups, you've got, is it 3 or 4 that you're working with to potentially commercialize?
Yes, that's right. We're actually onboarding 4 out of the 6. Yeah, and the reason the other 2 are not being onboarded is because they were very early startups, because we had different criteria than the Canada program this year. But yes, 4 of them we are currently onboarding onto the platform, which is very exciting.
So Leslie, before we kick into question and answer, and then we will make this PDF available to you all startups, so you'll have the summary here of the value proposition for you, and you feel free to reach out. But we'll go into Q&A before, and maybe to lead us into Q&A, Leslie. I mean, you collaborated directly with startups in Europe last year. What were your impressions of the program? Share a little bit of what you experienced working with the startup ecosystem in Europe.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be on this call today. It's very exciting to be part of this new accelerator program. So it's really nice to meet you. My name's Leslie Ann Smart. My day job is I'm the clinical strategy and clinical process lead for the Edison digital platform. Is very new, and all the toolkit that my colleagues on here have excited you about. I think the most exciting thing of the accelerator program is that we're developing an innovation culture, which is really important. It's an ecosystem of like-minded individuals. So we've got NextCube with their mentoring support and their financial help and their communications and stakeholder management, and help you create a wonderful elevator pitch, right, that you'll be able to use time and time again, and all their experience of that innovation culture and driving that forward. You've got the Edison team, which we've talked a lot about. But I'm very, very excited about the toolkit of applications and our marketplace. That we all know that in any app development, that we have to have invention, adoption, and diffusion. And this program allows you to accelerate all 3. I'm sure you've got some great conceptual ideas there, right? You've got some great interventions that are very desirable to clinicians like me, but also desirable to operational staff to try and address some of the terrible problems and challenges that we're facing globally in healthcare. But GE Platform will help you to make it more usable, to make it more accessible, so that we can speed up that whole dissemination process and your speed and acceleration to market. And we all think in healthcare that, the adoption of innovation is very slow, but it's not unique. Our great founder, Edison, he created something, a little desirable invention called electricity. And guess how many years that electricity took for 40% of the population to adopt it? 45 years. 45 years. So we've got to accelerate in healthcare, right? Because A, I'll be dead before we adopt it, and B, we need to get your applications out there to the market right here, right now. And that's what we're all here for. That's what these accelerator programs create, that drive, that agility to help you to get those apps to market really quickly. And we want to help you. We want to be on that journey to help you to achieve that. So it's a real pleasure to be part of this today. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you. And Lino, and I think we have 2 questions actually, and then Lino, maybe you can share some of your experience. But Nick, I think there are questions out there, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to piggyback off one thing that Leslie said, kind of the outsider in the room here. One thing that outside looking in that's been really great, I think, from a startup's perspective that hopefully I can relate to the audience is that I'm really excited and proud about the resources that GE is dedicating internally. I get to sit in on the inside and see the team in the ecosystem they pulled together internally. One thing that I think is a scare of some startups is that a big company might smother or squash the baby. And I think really here with this program is that GE is wrapping their arms around it. It's to be a warm hug and not necessarily to smother, right? It's to really to help prop them up. So I think if startups are thinking about this program, be excited about the amount of resources that are being put behind this. And I think this comes off the back of the previous programs and continuously improving there. But I just wanted to piggyback off what Leslie was saying and just kind of give an outsider's perspective to validate that. But we do have some questions. Laura, do you want me to just go ahead and read a couple of them?
Yes, you can. And then if you've got the answers, go for it.
That sounds great. So I think I can answer 2 in one. It says, where will the program take place? Is it virtual? Is there a location we should be at any given time? So the program is going to be all virtual. And then the only thing that would be in person would theoretically be the demo day in November, ideally in Toronto. So that's the in-person processes there. Is there a location where we should be at any given time? If you work from home or a coffee shop, I think that's up to, we'll call that dealer's choice. So wherever you'd like to be. Will there be a pitch during the selection process? So as I mentioned before, there'll be a series of phone calls. The formal pitches, I would say it would be your on the week of June 17th. I think we're going to be doing some meetings. I think it's like the 15th or 16th of that week. That would be more of a formal pitch. One of the phone calls that we'll do is more of an extended conversation where we walk through your pitch deck just to have a guiding conversation, but not necessarily at that time. So if we're in the process of recruiting together and you're working with me, I'll make sure that everybody's prepared for what to expect and you're not caught off guard so you can put your best foot forward. And then let me see one more. Is there a particular size or stage of company that we're looking at for the program? So the best probably answer to that is to go back and refer back to the technology readiness level assessment for the 8 and the 9. That's more on the commercialization stage of the business. Some folks could be commercially ready in more of an institutional seed round. I think it depends on your regulatory requirements and if you've passed that or not. So I think there's a bell curve, and I don't want to be intentionally vague, but I would say folks that are maybe around a Series A is probably the best, kind of blanket statement for that one there. But again, it's a bell curve and things are on a case-by-case basis. So I'm looking at those individually. So maybe I'll take a pause there since I just rapid fired a couple of them. I'll look at the other questions there, but I know, Laura, you were going to introduce Lino here as well.
Yeah, and maybe on your question around company size and stage, right? And then jump in, right? What's important to us is how far along you are in your technology readiness and commercialization readiness, right? This is what's important to us. So of course, size of the team or talent in the team, what you bring to the table that showcase the sustainability and the strengths of your solution and its readiness to scale up is going to be key, right? So, but as Nick said, we're not looking for specific stages, but that TRL level, that readiness maturity level is very important, right, Dan?
Yeah, that's the key, and this is the intent of this program is that you could have a smaller startup that can build some fantastic applications, and they don't need all of the size to commercialize and all the other components. You know, tier one maintenance and support is another example. So, you know, realistically, if you're developing the apps and you don't have platform, you don't have, you know, a lot of the scaling factors involved, but you're getting GE to do that scale, you can be more, you know, agile, like a smaller agile startup that could really work here. So I don't think there's a specific target size. It's really about the, you know, the quality over, you know, the quantity of people.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan. So Lino, maybe before we jump into quickly to the next questions as we read them to make sure we provide very good answer. Lino, you come from you're an entrepreneur yourself before you came to GE. So tell us from your perspective, what does this program bring to a Canadian startup?
Yeah, so that's a good question in the sense that my experience, like when I had my own company, like getting into healthcare is almost impossible if you're a small company. And getting government to work with you as a small startup is really hard in Canada, right? So I used to work in a company that we were able to sell our product in the US before we were able to sell it in Canada. And so a program like this gives you many benefits. Gives you access to GE. GE is a global company. We have access to 160 countries. And not only that, it gives you the dedicated attention from people at GE. And if you try to get into a big company, the size of GE and by your own, sometimes it's hard. It's really hard to navigate all the options. And to give you an example, some of the companies that you saw in the list before from Dan, some of them did business with one unit at GE, and then they had to pretty much start again to do business with a different unit. Like if you get into this program, you get access to all the units at once. So you get a dedicated team that will help you work with all the different businesses. Like if you are in an area that is good for digital solutions, then you get to work with the digital solutions. You get to work also with the X-ray or CT businesses. So all of them together, because it's a single entry point. And that's the benefit of having a platform and the benefit of having also this program. You get the dedicated attention, you get the support. We feel the energy like from people at GE, like say working with startups, and we feed off that energy and we give back as much as we can. We help you understand that it's one thing to make something for one or two customers than trying to go global. Because when you try to go global, you have 800 customers that you have to serve. It's a different ballpark. So having access to people that can help you visualize what it needs to happen for you to go from a small company to a company that can be global and reach out beyond your province, before Canada, before the North America, to the whole world is something very important. And I think that's a big benefit for both the startups and for GE to have that energy and be able to give back. And people like me to give back to Canada is something that's really important. So that's why I'm here.
And we always appreciate it, Lino. It's always fun working with you and knowing we have you south of the border. So it's fantastic. So let's take on more questions, Nick. And I'm answering a few of the comments that were put on chat. I'm answering directly there, and I'll mention them after as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know one of them was, is this demo day going to be in conflict with RSNA, the RSNA conference? And no, it'll be before that. We're very cognizant of that. Let's see, Dan, maybe this one's for you. We'll start with this one. Does the IP stay with the startup? Are you primarily looking for trained AI algorithms for diagnostics, workflow orchestration, or other innovative solutions that might use AI?
Yes and yes. No. Yeah. So the first one, the IP does stay with the startup, and that's the intent, is to keep GE at arm's length. We talked about the Apple Store model before. That's kind of the model we're looking at here, which is you know, it's really good for the startup because it's a recurring generation of revenue that you know can support their activities to develop the next application they want to build. And then the second question about looking for trained algorithms for diagnostics workflow, that's exactly kind of what we're looking for in that space. So, you know, this person's really got the gist of what we're looking for. Yep.
Great.
So yes
great.
and yes.
Great. And then as a hardware company that is also developing artificial intelligence, are we a good fit? So I would assume that means, should we apply to the program? We have developed a spectral X-ray detector. So I think I could probably maybe take this one on first, and then I would say, yes, go ahead and apply. Everything in that situation where it's a hardware software play, we're treating it on a case-by-case basis. So I would say, go ahead and apply. Let's have a conversation, learn more about what you're developing, and see where those opportunities for synergy are. But maybe Dan, I don't know if you have any extra clarity or comments that you want to add on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right thing. Apply. The question is, you know, how do you use the AI coupled with that sensor? So, you know, a lot of stuff that GE has, for example, our Optima 240 portable chest, it has algorithms built on the device, but there, you know, there's algorithms that can work with the device. So it's not necessarily, you know, what that would exclude it. It's how you use it, and if it's effectively done in a manner that's, you know, could be beneficial. That'd be something we'd have a look at for sure. Yep.
Great. And I think that was the last of the questions, unless I see anything else in the chat down here. But I think that's it that I have in my Q&A box.
I think there's some questions over there's a chat and a Q&A.
Let's see.
I think you've covered most of those. Yeah.
I think we.
Yeah,
there was a question about Canadian company, and I think we answered in the slide. So just to make it clear, if you're a Canadian company, yes. If you're not a Canadian company, but you are working on commercialization in Canada or North America, yes, too. And Nick,
if I may add to that,
go ahead,
Laura.
Lino. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people understand that it is based in Canada, right? But the goal for GE is to bring these opportunities to the whole world, right? So we want to go to the 160 countries where we have reach. So if you are thinking, hey, I just want to serve only Canada forever, then maybe you should think twice, because the whole idea is to get Canadian companies to be global companies and to make many unicorns out of Canada. So if you can reach out and work with GE and as a starting point, that I think that will give you a leg up. And just to be also transparent, this is not, we're not asking for exclusivity here, right? So like if you learn to work with GE and then you want to work with one of the other big companies, you can do so too. So I think this is a very great opportunity for Canadian company to go and learn how to work with a big company the size of GE, so that you can also work with other companies later on, and you're better prepared when you want to reach out to the other companies that are in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, thanks for the clarification. It's like, you know, if you have a product, you want to have as many channels to position your product as you can, right? So GE provide you that reach to Canadian customer, but to customers around the world as well. Customers that are using our solution, that our sales team talk to work with, that our services team talk to work with, right? Keep in mind that, you know, marketplace is not a be all and all. It's not that customers need to go there to hear about what's on marketplace. We've got salespeople that talk to all these customers, and we've got service people that go service existing equipment that might see an opportunity because their customer is doing what X, Y, and Z, or not happy with the solution they have, come back and say, hey, what do we have in our basket of goods that we could position with this customer? So this company becomes an extension of yours to position your solutions out there. That's really the goal. There is another question, I believe, Nick. You're on mute.
As I'm talking, I'm on mute. Classic. So let's see the other question. It says, could we pull in GE's AI solutions into our radiology workflow platform, or is it preference to go the other way? Dan, maybe that one's for you.
Yeah, the preference is to pull into the GE platform just because, you know, we've got such a large install base. And it's, you know, you think about the intent is that you've got a constant user interface, that you don't have to go to a new user interface all the time. So that's kind of the intent. If you think about kind of your Apple phone is always the same sort of user interface. So the training components, there's a lot of things that, you know, that are helpful to be consistent. So that's the preference. I can't think of a scenario where we'd want to go the other direction, but, you know, maybe there is. I don't know. You have to tell us the scenario you're thinking of.
Very good.
Maybe
very
we
good.
can have a discussion. We could have a discussion if Mike, if you want to have a conversation with us, we can better understand what you mean, and then we can have a more meaningful conversation. That might be easiest.
Yep, that sounds great. That sounds great. And I just want to make a note real fast while I just did this. If anyone's just monitoring the chat, I just dropped the link to apply, and then also our link to our website that has more information about the program. All righty, Ethan has a question. It says, if the goal is to make these products available to a larger market outside of Canada, will GE assist with regulatory approval in the new markets? Example, FDA and the USA. Let's see, maybe Laura, would you like to answer that one?
Well, I might get Dan or Lino to help me a bit with that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, regulatory clearance, I think, needs to be led by the company. This being said, I think we do have a lot of experts in-house that understand the regulatory landscape and can help guide, coach, mentor you in achieving that. Am I going in the right direction, Dan and Lino, on this one?
That's basically it. So our intent is that, again, scale up quickly and work with the startups, but we don't want to be stuck trying to do regulatory approval for each of the companies. But, you know, as Laura mentioned, we do have people that have experience, so they can, you know, they can provide some guidance. So this is outside, let's say you're a Canadian company, you're looking to do FDA. We have some people that have done a lot of FDA submissions. We advise the FDA on their framework, so we're really well aware of it. So, you know, we could, you know, what we're looking to do in Canada, and I think we're looking at some other markets, you know, maybe you can correct me, is that we're starting to look for third parties that do the regulatory piece. So those would be probably arm's length from GE, but we would say, okay, so you know, GE won't do the regulatory approval because our orchestrator platform doesn't need regulatory approval, but your application does. Here's a partner that we work with, or we can recommend, you know, people to help you, and, you know, maybe here's some high level guidance. So that's, you know, kind of what we're looking at. Anything to add to that, Lino?
Yeah, and that's the difference of going through this this accelerator of going through GE without the accelerator. If you go without the accelerator, the answer is no, we're not going to help you get any clearance. So it's all your responsibility. If you go through the accelerator in this program, then you get the opportunity to chat with people like me or other people in our team that can give you guidance. Hey, this is what you need to do. It's still your responsibility, but we can give you guidance, and that's the difference, right? That's something we're not staffed to do if we do it outside the accelerator, because we are working with so many companies, we cannot do that. But in the accelerator, you get that benefit. So that's another benefit of applying to a program like this, where you get dedicated attention, you get people that will listen and will provide you advice. And as Dan mentioned, we can even make connections to other people that can help you get to the clearances faster. And we can even work with you on a plan and say, hey, where it makes sense to go first, second, and third. And those are the kind of things that you will need to think about, and how to go on how you get your clearances, how you do translations. In Canada, we had the beauty of having two languages, right? French and English. So that's 2 out of 2 check boxes that you get really quickly there. But where you go next, what other countries you should target next. So that's the beauty of being in the accelerator, and that's where I highly recommend people to think about it, that to join it and work with us and work together in a partnership.
Yep. And then if you don't get enough support from GE, then you have NextCube to fall on as well. We have our own folks that have FDA experience and have our own mentors that are very well equipped in that area. So I think you should be very well supported. And I think Lino mentioned one thing. It's not just can you help us, but also could you help us with the decision-making process of where to potentially go next. So I think that is an added benefit that you would get with this program versus just going into GE cold. Or working with NextCube. So you get kind of double bang for your buck on that one. But I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. If anybody has more questions for us, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A there as well. Laura, great idea to drop the email. I'm going to go ahead and drop my email in here as well. If anyone has any questions or needs anything from me, my email is pretty simple. It's just nick@next3.com. So, let me know if you have any questions. But I think that's all I see here, Laura, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, so Nick, from the discussions you've had, I know you've been talking to a few startups. I know, it's been open for a couple of weeks. So we've seen some applications come through and you've had discussions with them. So did we cover most of the questions you were previously asked by some of those startups? Is there some that you might want to bring up here that might be of value?
Yeah, I think the big one, again, just to reiterate it, is the idea, and I think it comes with the name of the program, is the Canadian Edison Accelerator program. And just again to reiterate, is you don't have to be physically located or headquartered in Canada. It's more specifically the Canadian team is wrapping their arms around this version or this iteration of the accelerator program. So it's more of an internal nomenclature for GE. But the idea is that you're commercializing technology in Canada and or North America. So that's kind of other thing. So just to do that again, the selection process, that was another question we got. I think we covered it. But again, key dates, the end of May, applications are due. Mid-June, we're having our selection. And then by mid-July, we're looking to get the program started. And again, we're looking at mid-November. I think it's the week of the 14th or the 15th. I can't remember what day is the Monday for the demo day. That's supposed to, we're ideally making sure that's not going to interfere with RSNA conference. There as well. And again, I think one of the other questions that I got, and I'm just kind of going through my little list here, was what's the goal of the program for GE? And I think I said, again, sitting from the outside looking in, it's really to create that innovation culture within GE and work with exciting startups. I know, like I said, personally watching the GE team, they get a lot of excitement from working with, agile startups and doing all this kind of cool, fun stuff. So I know they get a lot of personal enjoyment out of it as well. So it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of resources. I think hopefully it's been evident and clear that's going to be behind it. Yeah, I think the only other thing was, what about a hardware software company kind of play? I say, let's do it on a case-by-case basis, reach out, let's have a conversation. I know I personally reached out to a couple hardware software startups that were interesting because I thought their AI algorithms might have some applications. So let's keep the conversations open. I'm always a yes man. Let's try to answer with a yes first versus a no. And as I always like to say to any startup out there, there's enough room in the world for everyone to succeed, and GE wants to be part of that journey. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think we'd rather see more of you than not, right? Because let us, as Nick said, I liked what you said, like start with yes, right? And it's going to be for us to say if it's a no, if there is not an alignment. But I know I've been in that journey for a couple of years now, Dan, right? We've been working, talking to startup across Canada and across the world. Actually, I really get really energized by just thinking about what we could accomplish all together at the speed at which you move. It's exhilarating, considering this is not necessarily the speed GE moves sometimes. So it is exciting to get your ideas and see how they align with our providers. And I think that's what's important too. Let's solve problems that do matter to our provider. Let's bring those solutions to them in a very much validated way so that the minute they install it, there is no question if that's the solution they're going to keep or buy. They will, because you integrated it into their workflow. And it's not even a question if they should have it. The only question might be budget, right? So we look forward to the continued discussion. I know Nick will be the one talking with you directly. This being said, if he's got a question, he comes back to Dan and I and the advisory board, and everyone is going to pitch in to have the right conversation to identify the right startups we are best to collaborate with through these next few months. And the goal is to have that innovation showcase the week of the 14th, as you said, of November, Nick, because RSNA is an important event in medical imaging, as we all know it. And it will be so fun to be able to come to RSNA saying that we've worked on something together. So we look forward to hear from you. Dan, last word. Lino, Leslie?
Yeah, super excited to work and, really interested to look at what is the cutting edge of technology in Canada so that we can bring that to Canadians and benefit everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, from my part, again, all we can do to support Canada, Canadian companies, and let's show the world that we have what it takes in Canada and that we can make it happen and we can be global companies. And yeah, and here at GE, we're ready to support you and in that journey, and especially me, and very eager to see what we can come up with and doing our very best to work together to accomplish many big goals.
Yeah, and just from my perspective, yeah, it makes me keep turning up for work every day, right? We've got thousands and thousands of problems, too much demand, burnt out clinicians, not enough time, not enough capacity, not enough money. We have got to transform by using innovative technologies. So let's bring it on and let's do it together. I can't wait.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Leslie, Lino, Nick, Dan, Chris, for organizing the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, for listening in. Reach out if you've got any additional questions or that come up after the fact. There will be a recording that I believe, Nick, you will put, and the link will be available on the application website should you want to listen again. We'll make the PDF available. We are also planning to kind of curate the questions with answers so that you can have easily access. We want this to be simple and we want it to be friendly. And we look forward to the collaboration. We'll talk to you all soon. Have a fantastic day.